Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much. Once again, for those of you who might not have been here before, I'm Tom Byelick with the Hobart Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Elevate Small Business and Entrepreneurial Expo. Give yourselves a big round of applause, just for fun. Terrific. You know, we've had the opportunity now to hear from one of the area's rising stars, one of the hottest entrepreneurs in the area, Rockland Page. And we're fortunate enough to have another special guest here today. And I know you're going to get a lot out of his presentation. Eric Bechinski is a business navigation consultant, but you know what he really is? He's a B2B missionary. He really cares about what he does. He's a trainer, he's a speaker, he's an author. He's authored 2 books of the iNautilus series that he'll talk a little bit more about here in a minute. He's a consultant for small businesses, and he's a terrific person all around. He's a great family man, and I'm happy to have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Eric Bechinski.
I'm going to tell a few stories here. First of all, I want to talk about Amy. So Amy was a baker. She loved baking. She's been doing it for years. She wanted to learn about the craft, and so she learned how to bake cupcakes and then moved on to cakes and cookies. She got really, really good. Friends and family would tell her they loved everything she made. And so after several years of that, people started asking her to bake for events like birthdays, even a wedding here and there. And so she did that for a while and decided, you know what, I love this so much, I'm actually going to start a bakery or start a business. And so she started baking and going to fairs and events, kind of like this, and she would bake and sell her wares. And decided at some point, though, she realized that there's a lot more to running a business than just baking, which is what she really loved. And so that brings us to Pat. Pat took over the family business after his parents retired. And he had a nice little retail store on Main Street, loved it, and it had all kinds of unique items. People would come from all over to visit this store. And so as he took over the business, you know, it wasn't necessarily his passion in life, but he loved the store, he loved the customers, and wanted to grow. Wasn't real sure how to do that. So then we got Bob. So Bob was a real estate investor. So he had rental properties. And he started with just one that he acquired for a very low cost. So he built this property out, started renting it out, making a little bit of money, added another one, and then another one, and another one. And for him, his business was much more about the financial benefit. He was looking for a means of furthering himself financially, retiring someday, maybe wealthy. But there are challenges in that he discovered. And that brings us finally to Emma. Emma had a different approach to the entire starting a business concept. She decided that there were things she was really excited about and really passionate about, really moved by, and started from that rather than a skill or a craft. She realized that there's a difference she wants to make in the world and that she can do that through business. So she started looking at what's really important to her. And she looked at what her purpose in life is, her higher purpose. And she looked at where she wanted to accomplish something really, really big, something so big that is almost impossible. But she decided that with her education background and her love for children, she was going to create an after-school educational program that would eliminate the education gap in the inner city. That was her objective. And so she built her program with that goal in mind. These 4 fictional people represent the 4 lenses, I call them, the 4 lenses through which business owners, small business owners operate. And so those are, we have Amy, the artisan, so artisan Amy. We have proprietor Pat. We have OBO Bob. OBO stands for Opportunity-Based Business Owner. And we have entrepreneur Emma. Entrepreneur is definitely defined usually as somebody who starts a business or has a lot of risk or stake in a business. I take it a little bit further, and I'll talk about that in a moment. When we look back at Amy, Amy's an artisan. She has this craft, this trade, something she's really good at and wants to build that into a business. So artisans are like that. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. They go to trade shows and farmers markets, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all good. But they have different needs and problems than a proprietor, somebody who maybe has a brick and mortar, a family business that's been handed down, that wants to grow it, keep it current, and also keep their current customers and get new ones. Then we have the OBO, the opportunity-based business owner. Again, nothing wrong with that. The real estate investor, the franchise owner, they have very limited what they can do with their vision or their passion. It's much more about taking that business and using it for something else or purely for financial gain. Again, nothing wrong, just different. And then the fourth lens is that entrepreneurs. So the way I define entrepreneurs is people who operate from purpose and vision rather than just business perspective. So one of the things these people all have in common is that they all need a coach. Because just like a professional athlete, all professional athletes have coaches. And when you look at the great ones, even Tiger Woods had a swing coach that he paid a lot of money to follow him around and tweak the way he's swinging the golf club. If the professionals in sports need a coach, then don't we as business owners also? So where the distinction lies in these four lenses is what kind of coach they need. An artisan needs something very different from a proprietor, which is very different from an oboe, which is very different from an entrepreneur. So when we look at the artisan, one of the things that might be very beneficial for an artisan is SCORE, an organization like that, where they walk you through some of those initial business planning concepts, or maybe a specialized CPA or accountant. Those are the types of people that can really guide them in the initial phases of their business as they're learning how to be a business owner. Because as much as they love their craft or their trade, it's a completely different skill set to run a business. And they may find that they're being bogged down by that. So that type of a coach could help them in that situation. But a proprietor, they may need a marketing consultant. They may need IT or web design or technology training. And the reason is they've already got an established business, but they need to keep it current. They need to gather new customers and attract new people. And that requires a skill set that they may not have. So they need a coach like that. The OBO, the opportunity-based business owner, he's going to need something even different. He's looking at exit strategy. He's looking at tax benefits. So this may be another type of CPA or somebody who specializes in tax benefit, estate planning, those kinds of things. Real estate consultant if you're a real estate investor. So there's a lot of differences there in what types of coaches, but they all need a coach. And so that brings us back to Emma the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, that's the people I love to work with. They're all good, but I love the entrepreneurs because I too am an entrepreneur. I'm building my business based on my purpose in life, which is I want to help everyone else fulfill their purpose. So I've created this methodology called the iNautilus. It's this design right here. And I've written the book about that methodology. But my passion is working one-on-one with entrepreneurs and helping them identify what is important to them in their life, but more importantly, how they can use their business to realize that dream, that vision that they have for some great impact in the world right now. So that's a little bit about these four lenses and how I fit into all that. I've been all four types of entrepreneur or business owners. I'm a real estate investor right now, so again, that's very functional. but I'm also this entrepreneur with this Green Fire Innovations business. But I've been a proprietor, I've been an artisan. There's good about all of those things. So if you'd like to know a little bit more about what I do offer a free strategy session. You're welcome to book that on my website. It's greenfireinnovations.com. And then if you are still wanting a little bit more depth about what I do have some books over here available for sale. So I'm open to questions if anyone has any.
Eric, what would you say the biggest challenge that you've faced as you've transitioned from a day job to being an entrepreneur? What's the one thing that stands out to say, hey, that was really one of the hardest things I think I've ever done?
Good question. So one of the most difficult things transitioning from a job to business owner is just realizing how much depends on you. And that leads to a lot of issues with focus and doing what's important. Stephen Covey talks about putting your big rocks in first. Do we know that story? A few of you? Okay. Really quick, the story is a lecturer was speaking in front of some seminar attendees, and he brought out a jar, and he put a bunch of big rocks in the jar, filled it up to the top, asked the audience, okay, is the jar full? And the audience said, sure, yeah, it's full. Can't fit any more rocks in there. So he grabs another box from under the table and puts it on the table, and he puts all these little rocks, pebbles, in and around the big rocks. Works them all in, gets it all the way up to the top. He says, okay, now is it full? And now they're a little more hesitant because they've already been tricked once. They're not going to fall for that again. So he grabs a bag of sand, and he dumps it in the jar, and he shakes it around, and he gets it. So now it's filled up with sand. And now is it full? And they're not saying anything. They're not. Mm-mm. So he grabs a pitcher of water and fills it. And so now it's full. Now there's nothing else that's going to fit in the jar. And the point is, if you start with the water, you'll never fit the big rocks in. So you always start with the most important things in your business, in your life. You do those first. That's hard to do when you're transitioning from a job where you have a designated, here's what you do every day, to figuring out, here's what I need to do today.
Eric, thank you so much for coming out today. We really appreciate it. Let's give it up for Eric Bechinski. Thank you.